Hello, and once again I'm a bit late, or not a bit late with this review because this model is not new. But TRN and TRN BA8 is the subject of today's review. TRN is well known as a creator of really efficient solutions. They created a few really popular models, V90, V80, VX, and BA5 was also pretty interesting, so of course I decided not to skip BA8. As name suggests, it's 8 balanced armature per side in-ear monitors. Actually, they announced that they will soon release BA15, and it makes them even more interesting. But today let's talk about the 8 driver model. It received mixed reviews, so let's try to figure out what buyers will get. Price actually is pretty high for TRN models. Price is about $140 if I remember right. I will add links to the shop in the description. So, main source of critics, it's actually the price, because everyone used that they are creating models in below $100 range, and this one goes to the upper entry, or actually lower mid segment. So let's find out what they offer. Package is simple, minimalistic, but looks pretty attractive. So I like small boxes, I like minimalistic polygraphy, so this package suits my taste. I don't like the fancy boxes, some unusual materials or something like that. As usual, inside of the sleeve there is main box, and also pretty expectedly it's made of black cardboard. Inside we'll get earpieces themselves and warranty card, manual, and can with accessories. So what we'll get here, actually pretty firm holding lid. It needs to be pushed somewhere. Okay, finally I did it. I won't cut that, so I will leave it as is. We will get 2 sets of additional tips, storage can and stock cable. Actually pretty modest set of accessories for this segment. It was okay for $40 or for $50, but for above 100 tire it's too greedy. In terms of design, they are nice. Here used metal shell with interesting faceplates, nice minimalistic design. Mine pair is black, there are a few other colors if I remember right. Ergonomics is pretty nice, they are fitting nicely into ears thanks to the smooth edges and low profile. They are holding well, spouts have average length, and that means also average sound isolation. But there is a lip for holding the tips and protective grill, some vent hole. I don't know why it's necessary in the multi-balanced armature setup, but maybe it does something. Of course we can't see the internals, and it's a pity because 8 armature setup would look fancy, but metal shell is durable and also pretty stylish. Build quality is nice, so this aspect is implemented well. And they have replaceable cable. Here use this connector with recessed pins, QDC connector if I understand right. And also, as usual, it's hard to see the letters on these connectors. So this one is right, it goes for the right earpiece. I like these connectors, they are pretty durable and they look attractive, so it's a good solution in the lower part of price tier. Here they are. Stock cable is also, pretty basic. There are ear hooks but no memory wire, and the cable itself, of course, it's soft. and it's almost not getting hard when it's cold outside, but it looks really basic and simple. So for this price we could expect probably something more audiophilic, but from another hand it's really comfortable and it's pretty good in terms of ergonomics. And after the splitter it goes braided down to the regular jack. So to summarize this part, pretty good presentation, but of course accessory set could be better. And of course about the sound. I've burned them in for about 40 hours, but there were no changes in sound, and it's a pretty expected outcome because balanced armatures rarely require some burn-in. In terms of tuning, TRN decided to go unusual way. Instead of implementing some kind of typical V-shaped signature, they decided to make the model with just slightly boosted low frequencies and a big accent on the treble. So maybe it's some kind of development of their ideas from popular VX model, but actually it appeared that BA8 have the signature that not everyone's like, and it's pretty understandable. So let's have a player on the table. And let's talk about their sound in a more detail. So bass is slightly accented, but accent isn't big, and combined with typical balanced armature representation, it appears to be pretty dry and focused on the small details, not on the weight. Actually, it has a pretty good impact, but it doesn't sound like dynamic driver models. Lows have a good depth, actually pretty good, but because of the speed, it's not developing the full potential in terms of mass. But at the same time, it's really natural and focused on the small details, so representation of properly recorded acoustic instruments, for example, is good here with them. And without a lot of talking, here is the example. It's Musica Nuda, pretty expectable. So I've selected a track named Ave Verum and double bass here sounding with a good sense of realism. Also, they require properly recorded material, so it's their one of the most distinguishing features. They are crazy demanding in this aspect, but with good recorded material they sound nicely. They are okay with electronic music, but only if you have just few albums or few artists in your media library, because if electronic music and pop music, basically genres based on the bass, dominating in your media library, it's better to select something hybrid with more low frequencies. Mids are also focused on the micro contrast. They are absolutely not adding any weight, so with poorly recorded tracks they sounding lightweight, and they are tuned to be at the maximum level of monitoring representation, so they require really good mastered and record tracks, because otherwise they will show the smallest issues with records, they will highlight them, and they won't sound pleasant. But with good material they sounding realistic and with all that small and tiny details. Actually, they are pretty coherent in tuning, so drivers overlap is really hard to spot, and it's a good side. Also, they're not adding emotions, they're not boosting macro dynamics, it's just the model for those who prefer natural monitoring representations that just play tracks as is. Imaginary stage is noticeably above average, so for me they're building a pretty good stage, even exaggerating its size sometimes, but of course stage is subjective, so it depends on psychoacoustics. And As an example of mid frequencies, I've got Niechęć, my favorite avant-garde jazz from Poland, and track named Krew, or something like that, not sure about the correct pronunciation. It's interesting track with a lot of instruments, with good saxophone part, and with a lot of other instruments playing in tune, and these earphones represent them with maximum realism, even sometimes over-sharpening them. And treble, so it's definitely not the model for those who are sensitive to treble. Boost here is noticeable, it's pretty big, it starts from the upper mids and continue basically to the mid treble. Extension is slightly above average, and it's a typical balanced armature treble with good resolution, clean, crisp, but because of that boost, they can sound too shouty and too sharp for many people. Even for me, actually, I'm not super treble sensitive, and I like boosted treble sometimes. Even for me, sometimes they are not comfortable with, especially with poorly recorded tracks. So keep that in mind. You need to love treble to listen this model. And as an example for the treble, I've got Rush YYZ. Introduction is really good. Accented treble combined with big imaginary stage, sounding crazy realistic and fun. But then when tune develops, actually it's I'm lacking a bit of weight on the mids with this track. And about the sources, probably most logical thing is to pair them with something on the warmer side, like Hybe, for example, or some other bass-oriented players. Not a good idea to pair them with, let's say, FIO M11 or some iBasso dubs, because it will be over-sharped. And speaking about the conversions, to be honest, I don't see much sense in doing that, because basically it definitely brighter than vast majority of other models in this price range, and more focused on the micro contrast. There are, pretty bright models like Teen P1, for example, and it's somewhere close, I don't know. There are natural monitoring models like Moondrop KXXS or NF Audio NM2, but this model is brighter and even a bit more focused on the micro detalization. So to summarize all here, I think that target audience for this model is really narrow. It's the people who like really bright sound. There are such persons, I know a couple of them, but definitely it's not the mass market product, so if you'll decide to get them, really recommend you to try them before buying. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and have a nice day.